Has Minecraft lost its way? Is a question that I've seen a lot of mixed opinions on. Some people believe the game's lost its identity because of recent game updates like the Warden, while others believe it has not, and that it's mainly just because we are getting older and we aren't the same people we were when the game first released. This got me thinking, what actually happened to this game and its community that caused these mixed opinions, and why might it be true for either side? I took some time to look into it and I think I found out why. To understand why people think Minecraft's identity is fading, we first need to look back at the history of Minecraft. In early May back in 2009, Marcus Pearson aka Notch began development of a game called Cave Game. He later renamed this game to the one we now know as Minecraft. Fast forward a couple years later to November 18, 2011, and Notch officially releases Minecraft version 1.0 to the world. This was Minecraft at its core. The game was simple, but unique. The world has never really seen anything like this game before. Over the next few updates, items and mobs were added which improved the game, but there was still room for development. The first major update was 1.7, the update that changed the world. This update did exactly that, adding over 5 new biomes as well as changing already existing ones. It completely overhauled the way biomes blended together, and how the terrain generates. This was also the last major update Minecraft received before Microsoft acquired Mojang back in September 2014. One of the final updates with the creator Notch before he stepped down. At this point, every game update had been embraced by the community. People appreciated how this simple game was evolving, and the game started to gain popularity quickly. It was looking promising for the future of the game. However, 1.9 got released. This update is arguably the most controversial update in the entire game's history, the combat update. This was the first time the community's opinion was literally split in half. Most people hated the new system. It was slower, more inconvenient. It was completely different to what people were used to. The PvP style used to be about who could click the fastest and had the best combos. There was even the option to use a sword like a shield, although this only reduced knockback and damage. People became very skilled at getting the right technique down, so completely removing it and changing it caused an outrage. Not only this update added Mending and Frostwalker, which both enchantments are very powerful and the community also disliked. And there's more. The most OP movement item, the Elytra, was also added to the game. Even to this day, people don't like this update. Servers like Hypixel still run on version 1.8.9 because of this. However, at this point, no one had brought up anything about the brand's identity. Fast forward another few updates and the community had calmed down, but those who despised the update before continued to do so and refused to update their game. In this time, a lot more content was added. The main updates were the World of Colour, the Aquatic, and the Bee updates, which are all added together and encouraged players to explore. We also had the long-awaited Village update, which included more trades, which are linked to workbenches, as well as pillagers, raids and totems. Totems are another controversial item. Avid players battle with the ideas of totems because they were so common and unbalanced. It also meant those who play Minecraft in hardcore now have a way not to die because you can find unlimited numbers of them. The community suggested ideas of how to make totems more balanced. For example, this one Reddit user suggested that you had to craft them yourself using a Gem of Life, which is now dropped from evokers instead of totems. You can now find unpowered totems in Woodland Mansion chests, making them have a better use and a reason to find one. But even with the agreement of at least 700 people, Mojang never decided to acknowledge this. Still though, overall the followers had grown together and became a close-knit community. A few years later, Mojang announced 1.16, the much needed and anticipated Nether update. This was the start of a chain of the best updates the game has ever received. People loved the redesign of the Nether, although some people missed the old textures of the OG blocks, which I can't lie, don't get me wrong, I love them too, but the new texture is way better and a lot more clean, and it just doesn't give me a headache, you know. The next updates were 1.17 and 1.18, the Cave and Cliffs updates. These updates entirely changed the game's generation again, as well as adding 2 new cave biomes to the game. You can now have massive mountains as well as caves that have been completely redesigned, creating open spaghetti caves to explore. This also meant the building height was increased, allowing for taller and deeper generations. Notoriously one of the best updates to the overworld. The game was perfect, the landscapes were beautiful. Surely Minecraft can't get any wilder. Say hello to 1.19, the Wild update. This is when people started questioning the game's identity. Why? Well, in this update they added the most realistic biome so far, the Mangrove Swamp, as well as a new cave biome with an interesting mob. The mangrove swamp is extremely dense. The floor is cluttered with mangrove roots, making it really difficult to explore. But with this, there is now a new tree type. On these trees, you now can find mangrove propagals, which are basically used as saplings. And one fact I just found out about them, which I had no idea about, you can actually place them underwater and they still grow. Like, what? Never knew that. With the addition of this tree, they added a new colour of wood to players. Also in this update, they added mud and frogs, which all can be found in this one biome. Even looking at it from this angle, it just feels like it doesn't fully belong. At this time, we also had a mob vote, which was a heated battle in itself, but I'm going to talk about that more later. This wasn't the most controversial part though. In the same update, Mojang added a new cave biome called the Deep Dark. This added new game features like wireless redstone using a block called a skulk sensor. There's now this new type of block called skulk, which added veins, catalysts and sensors, and the worst one being the shriekers. A new mob was added as well, called the Warden. The Warden is no joke, it's the strongest and most powerful mob in the whole game. The Warden has a total of 500 health points, which is 250 hearts, which is 2.5 times more health than the game's final boss, the Ender Dragon. It has multiple attacks. It has powerful ranged attacks which can go through blocks, as well as a close-up melee attack which doesn't do as much damage. This altogether took the community by shock. People both liked and hated the idea of this. Some people liked the idea of having to sneak about and not getting caught, while others didn't like how this kinda made the one semi-peaceful game into a sort of horror game. But I must agree, it is probably quite scary for kids. It scares me at times when I'm mining for diamonds and my whole screen goes black, like, just trying to get my diamonds, please leave me alone. But yeah, around this time, this is when people started talking about how Minecraft's approach to updates might be going down a different path than what the game had already shown. But that's enough of this update. The next update is 1.20, called Trials and Tales. This update added sus, sand and gravel, which you now have to use a brush on them, which can find either bad or good loot like diamonds, pottery shards, armor trims, and the best item of course, the sniffer egg. This whole update encouraged exploration and introduced archaeology to the game, creating a new unique experience. Overall the update is great. We've got a new biome, more items, and now we've got armor trims which are sick, but we also had the sniffer. A new mob which you can get from finding and hatching an egg. This mob's only function is to sniff out 2 types of seeds, that's it. This mob has got to be one of the most pointless mobs in the whole game, and we voted for it. Talking of mob votes, this update had the last mob vote as well, which changed the community's view, making people start calling it a dead system and that it will not be missed. This mob vote was the mob vote for either the armadillo, the crab, or the penguin. The reason why this got so much hate was due to the fact that once this vote was decided, the other 2 options wouldn't be added to the game. This mob vote also caused a lot of people to start questioning the legitimacy of the vote. That's when people started accusing Mojang for manipulating the mob votes. Even though this never got fully proven, people still try to dig in and try and find the true answer, but it's really just down to what you think. Anyway, the next update is 1.21, the Tricky Trials update. Like hinted in its name, this update added the trial chambers, a new dungeon with waves of mob which you have to fight off to receive rewards. In the same update they also added a new biome called the Pale Garden, a new spooky desaturated biome. There were new block variants which included grey moss and different wood types. A new mob was added called the Creakin, which is a tall skinny wood looking mob which moves when you don't look at it and stops when you do. It's invincible and doesn't take any damage. The only way to kill it is to find its heart, which is located in a tree, and you have to break that and then it despawns. Again though, with this update we have found the same sort of problem with the mangrove swamp. The biome just feels so out of place. Yeah, the biome itself is sick and people do like the blocks it brings, but it just doesn't really fit in with the environment. Personally, I believe the biome would have been better in the Nether or End rather than the overworld. I feel like it just fits that sort of vibe a bit better. And the community said the biome is a bit underwhelming and needs more content added to make it something different. Most people are suggesting adding some sort of fog or something to help it blend with the surrounding environment. Overall, the update received positive feedback. However, there was starting to have people questioning the game's identity. The last update I want to talk about included one of the most random mobs. This is the latest update, 1.21.6. This update includes the Happy Ghast, a new mob which you can now equip the saddle on, which allows you to be able to fly in the overworld freely. You can even stand on it, allowing for a new exciting way of building. This received mixed reactions. Some people love it, while others don't. It seems those who don't are the same ones questioning the identity in previous updates. Some people think it's too easy to obtain. Now apparently you can craft life, which isn't really normal. A lot of people don't like the design, which I kinda get. Bro looks like a minion. This mob is completely different to what anything Mojang has added to the game before. The question is Mojang still really listening to the players, or are they now just working on their own thing? Because every game update plays an important part in the game's identity. However, it's not just that. Which brings me on to the next topic. If you regularly play Minecraft, then you've probably heard of Minecraft Live. Minecraft Live is the name of the livestream show which showcases the latest game updates and news. as well as announcements about the future, for example a new game or show. This show is streamed on the official Minecraft YouTube channel roughly every 6 months. Some of you may already know this, but Minecraft Live is actually an online version of what Minecon was. For those who don't know what Minecon is, Minecon was an in-person convention where thousands of fans all gathered together in a place where there would be loads of activities you can do. Some people sometimes cosplayed and dressed up in mobs which showed their love for the game, while others brought their Minecraft toys. It was a place for both children and adults. When you're inside you can buy food, drinks and even souvenirs. There was even a meet and greet section with your favourite content creators. They even had the DJ deadmau5 do a set on the first Minecon. It was a place of celebration, fan interactions and a community gathering for their love of the game. If you attended you would also get an exclusive cape which you can redeem at home. They did a total of 5 events over 6 years until it reached 2017. In 2017 they decided to rename the show to Minecon Earth and decided to take their show online to a live stream. There were mixed reactions. People liked how they could watch the stream from anywhere rather than having to plan to go to an in-person event, but those who regularly attended these events were disappointed that it was online. And so because of their previous experiences, they expected at least for the stream to be well structured and entertaining. However, this wasn't really the case. Some people expressed their opinions online on Reddit, with one user giving a full review. This user said, "I was going in with medium expectations. I knew it couldn't be on the scale of the previous convention since it was only 90 minutes long, but I still thought there was going to be some decent stuff at least. However, I soon came to the realization that this wouldn't be the case." This user wrote a whole article, but I won't go in depth for it. However, I looked at the comments underneath this post, and these users replied with, "No, it's really just a cop-out. The state's more inclusive, but it's really wildly more exclusive. Nothing of substance is transferred from the fans to the creators." Minecraft has always been good with communicating to fans. They would receive feedback and they would actually integrate it into their game at times. One of their best ways to understand what the fans truly wanted was by meeting them in person. At the end of their shows, they would take questions from the audience about anything from updates to features or items they didn't really feel right and more. This created a more effective and targeted approach to creating updates, so by not having this element anymore, just having it online cuts the human connection and makes it a lot harder for your questions to get through. Kinda made it so the community didn't really have as much of an input as they would have had before. This was something that people hadn't really seen before from Mojang. The game had felt like it had gone more corporate, more focused on money and large team of employees. One good idea they had with the livestream was introducing a new voting system. This allowed the community to vote on which thing Mojang should work on or add next. The first mob vote had 4 options to choose from. Mob A is called the Barnacle, the monster of the ocean depths. Mob B is called the Phantom. Of course you know what the Phantom is, everybody hates it. Mob C is called the Great Hunger. And lastly, Mob D is called the Wildfire. People were able to vote, and the 3 mobs that didn't win this vote were not implemented into the game. The idea of the voting system was cool, and it was different. It helped fill them gaps of feeling like the community wasn't really getting heard. However, there was still one massive flaw with the system. With a mob vote, they would only add the winning vote. The other options were never actually going to be added to the game. This made sense at first, but with time, the more votes they hosted, the worse the reality became. The mob vote in 2023 was the final mob vote Mojang had hosted, but why was that? Well, this mob vote was the mob vote for the armadillo, the crab, and the penguin. These were all mobs everybody wanted, and with their features just made everybody want them all. Everyone was talking about which mob to vote for. The most favourite of them were the armadillo and the crab. Personally, I vote for the crab, mainly because of how broken having a 1 block extra reach actually sounded. It just sounded way more useful and fun than faster boats and wolf armor. But really it was just down to what you wanted in the game. This mob vote however caused a huge debate online, but eventually the armadillo won the vote and has now been added to the game. Most of the winning mobs that are added to the game are the most pointless additions. Like I've mentioned earlier, what is the point of the sniffer? Wow, 2 new old decorative flowers, which they could have just added into the sus gravel. A lot of people expressed their opinions online as well. This one user went through every single mob vote and gave a reason why each one was a disappointment. Because of this was also when people started questioning why the mobs votes even exist. If they had already planned the design of the other mobs, why wouldn't you just add them all anyway? The voting system could just be which one they add to the game first, rather than which one's only going to be added to the game. People started creating documentaries and there are hundreds of short videos of creators expressing their views. Because of all this feedback they were receiving from the fans, Mojang decided they would retire the voting system once and for all. And now it's gone, people are mostly happy. Even though I also dislike the mob vote, I still kind of believe that we needed something like it. Even though the options were always bad, and even if we won it felt like we'd lost, it was still a good way to bring in the whole community, try and win and get that mob that we wanted in the game. The mob vote was one of the main reasons why people watched Minecraft live. Of course we wanted to know the latest updates and stuff as well, but the main reason why it got so many clicks was because of the mob vote. So I feel like there's now more space where Mojang needs to think of a new idea that they can possibly add, which can have the same effect but not be as disappointing. Even though people are happy now it's gone, it's not like Mojang to give up on an idea. They've always stuck with something that was key for the game. For example, the combat update. They stayed with the new one and never changed it. So completely throwing away this idea was not really seen before from them. This live stream was on YouTube, and that brings me on to my next topic. Minecraft's whole identity heavily relies on the community. One major factor is the videos people are creating, like on YouTube. On the 19th of May 2012, Joseph Garrett, or who you will know as Stampy Longhead, created his well-known series Stampy's Lovely World. And then, on the 29th of January 2015, Dan Middleton, aka Dan TDM, made his first video on his iconic series of mod reviews with Dr. Trioris. And then on the 19th of August 2011, Jordan Maron, aka Captain Sparkles, uploaded the most iconic Minecraft parody song, Revenge. All of these videos got millions of views, with easily over 1 billion total views. And there are loads of people I still haven't talked about who were huge, like popular MOS. This was OG Minecraft YouTube, the simpler times. But now comparing these videos to the videos we have today, and you can see it has completely changed. Now videos are focused on hardcore mode and building the coolest / biggest thing no one would think or have time to do. Or maybe a speedrun or manhunt, even modded simulations. I don't want you to hear this in a bad way. These videos are way more entertaining and sometimes mind-blowing, or the mix of things you can actually do to the game now. But people's approach to videos have shifted. If anyone tried making a video like these old ones, no one would watch it. The only type of video I would see maybe working is mod reviews, because modded Minecraft has never been more popular, and I never realised how big the modding community is. I heard of some of the possibilities and I wanted to have a go myself, but I was always on the PS4, so I was never able to apart from the Bedrock Marketplace, but that didn't come out until later. My first time playing something properly was back in 2022, when I made a free server with a couple mates and we did a dinosaur mod, and more recently I've done a server with a few mates of an even more modded experience, and I must say I really like it. But the download numbers shocked me. Close to 80 billion downloads on just CurseForge. The reason why I'm saying all this is because it made me think about how simple the game was compared to what it can be with mods. Some mod creators are extremely talented, creating very sick features and designs, and even enhancing the vanilla game to be way better. And I thought, why doesn't Mojang just hire some of these creators to help develop the game? It makes sense, but then doesn't that also lose Minecraft's identity? For this brings me to my final segment. The final conclusion. Has Minecraft lost its way? Was the question that I started with in this video. And so with all the things I've talked about, in some aspects, Mojang has changed. For example, their approach to game updates. However, I wouldn't go as far to say that this game has fully lost its identity. I think the game itself is still closely linked to its core. We still pretty much have the same game progression and that hasn't changed at all. And for the most part, every item added has been good. But we do need to remember Minecraft is now a 16-year-old game. Their community is huge with over 170 million active players each month and over 350 million copies sold. So I think with all this pressure they have done very well to keep everyone happy for the most part. We're not going to always like something they add, but I think we can all agree that there are more things in the game now that we like than when we did in the earlier versions. But other than how disappointing the mob votes were, and a few questionable updates and mobs, the game has never been better. So with all this, thank you so much for watching to the end. Hope you learned something new and that you enjoyed the video. If so, then please like and subscribe, it's greatly appreciated. Also feel free to leave your opinions in the comments, tell me what you think, I'd love to know. And until next time, this has been CyaniteMC, I'll see you in the next video.